Welcome to NinjaCast, a photography podcast powered by Studio Ninja, the world's highest rated business management app, built specifically for photographers. Listen and learn as the most successful photographers on the planet share their knowledge to help you transform every element of your photography business. Here's your host, Sally Shaw.
Hi guys, welcome to NinjaCast. Today we are joined by the incredibly talented Lisa Devlin. Lisa is an awesome photographer and also the founder of The Photography Farm, a beautiful little community created to help offer support and education to photographers all around the world. Lisa is a really great friend of ours here at Studio Ninja, so I can't wait to catch up with her and for you guys to learn so much about her. Hello.
Hiya.
How are you?
I'm all right, Sally. How are you doing?
Good, yeah, I'm really well, thank you. Has it been a busy one?
It's always busy. Always.
That's good.
Always mental around here. It's always just
Oh.
crazy, crackers and insane. And I don't even know how I used to fit weddings in.
Gone are the days where we can juggle.
Yeah, I'm beginning to wonder. So,
Oh.
yeah.
So how's things been for you? Is lockdown treating you well or semi-lockdown? I don't even know what we're in anymore.
Oh, God knows. Who knows what anyone's in? Well, it's just the way of life now, isn't it? It's just what we do now. It's just 2020. We just write the whole year off. At some point, hopefully start again.
Definitely.
And yeah, no, it's definitely a Corona coaster.
I love that. I've not heard that before.
Maybe I've made that up, but that's how I feel. It's a Corona coaster, and you like, I don't know about you, but I'm not like really into roller coasters. They give me, wobbly legs and make me feel sick.
Mhm.
So yeah, a bit like that.
Exactly the same. Amazing. So for our listeners then that don't know much about you, Lisa, or might not have heard of you before, can you tell us a little bit about your journey prior to getting into photography and then also your career so far?
Well, yeah, so I've not really ever done anything else. So I've always done photography, just straight from school. And I went to college in Brighton and straight from there into working as a music industry photographer. So I started out doing work experience and being an assistant and worked my way up from the very bottom.
And now she's
And
here.
yes, so I did most of the 90s in music industry and did a lot of travel for that and a lot of met a lot of people. It was really fun. I've got a lot of stories for down the pub. Yeah, I loved it. And then I didn't love it anymore. All the things I really liked about it in the beginning, all the travel, all the meeting celebrities, started to be the stuff that I wasn't that bothered about anymore.
Yeah.
And I did think, what am I going to do? Because I didn't have a CV as such. I was sort of unemployable. And at that point, I didn't really know. It's difficult to know how to make money in photography if you don't want to do one of those sort of high profile careers. So that's the point where my agent got married and asked me to be a wedding photographer. And I said to her, there's one thing I do know, and that's that I don't want to do that.
You hear that so often actually with wedding photographers, don't you? You know, years before that they became a wedding photographer, they always go, nah, weddings aren't for me. I would never shoot a wedding.
I think it depends when you hit the industry, like, because now wedding photography is really cool. But then, I mean, it wasn't cool. It wasn't at all cool. It was, mostly high street guys doing it. They just did very formal, very staged photography. It wasn't considered a creative genre.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something people aspired to be the way that they do now. Like, there's so much more creativity in the industry. And it's something right from the get-go people want to work in weddings, whereas before it was kind of like considered something you just did to pay your bills.
Yeah.
It's really bad, isn't it? It's really bad. But that's what it was like. Like, it wasn't where creative photographers were showing up. So when she said that, I was like, oh God, no. The thought, to me, wedding photography was lots of group shots and formality. And I said to her, I'll help you find a wedding photographer. I'll try and find someone good for you. And seeing what was out there was quite bizarre. I'd obviously never really looked before. I'd been doing lots of traveling and working in a very creative genre. And then seeing what people were offering, and I was just like, okay, look, I will do it for you, but I'll do it as if I'm just shooting a magazine story. Just going to tell, what happened on the day and just do kind of behind the scenes feeling. If that's okay with you, then I'll shoot that. And of course I did do group photos and formal portraits of the two of them. I just did what they wanted, but the rest of the time I just ran about taking what I saw as little kind of story moments. And then, it turns out that's a whole genre in itself. Like, after that.
Absolutely. And then it was born.
I do believe I invented modern wedding photography. But no, there wasn't very many people doing it. And so, it was pretty easy to set up, because all you had to be was not be really rubbish at it. And that was enough of an individual marketing plan for when I began. And listing in the yellow pages was the other place you put yourself.
Yeah.
It's very, very different now, very different times.
Most definitely. So, I mean, the big thing for me that I find, well, I think for a lot of photographers, actually, a big hurdle, if you like, is the branding side of the business. So, you know that you can take photos, that you enjoy what you do, but as a photographer, you have to be so much more than a photographer as well, all around, don't you? So the branding side of things, I think, is quite a key element for a lot of photographers, but also an area that they sometimes struggle in. Do you have any perhaps top tips for creating a strong brand?
Well, I think this is one of the things that now there are so many peripheral industries around wedding photography. So, like, from when I started to now, the industry's grown and grown and grown. And around all the industries around it have cropped up and grown as well, and expanded with us. And with that, photographers get a lot of options that they can DIY things. So we can DIY a website, we can edit our own photos where you used to have to send them to the lab. All of these elements, you're kind of, the mentality you get into is, I can do this myself, so I should do this myself. But I don't have any formal training in creating brands or in graphic design or in being a web designer. So I'm a big believer in outsourcing things that you're not good at, or you're not passionate about, and you're not going to be an expert in. And that's definitely one of the areas that you can get really great results from, because in a super saturated market like we're in now, going down the route of becoming a very distinct brand is one of the things that's going to help you to find the right kind of clients for you. So it's just basic, like, marketing 101. If the market is incredibly busy, you work harder on your brand. When I started and it wasn't busy, you really didn't have to do anything. You just had to turn up.
How times have changed.
How times have changed. I kind of really love marketing. Like, it's one of the things, the elements in your business. So everyone's got bits of it that they super duper enjoy. For some people, that's admin and accounting and spreadsheets. And, some people love that stuff. Personally, I don't, but I do love the marketing side of it. I think what we have to do is be just as creative there as we are with the photography. Sometimes people think that's the only area that requires creativity. And I'm like, I believe that you can be really creative. And if you have a creative mind across all of the different elements of your business, you get better results.
Definitely. Can you perhaps give our listeners some brief tips on the marketing that they can implement after listening to this today?
Oh, brief tips on marketing. Gosh, okay. So actually have a PR plan. It's a very stab in the dark mentality for a lot of people. I don't know if you feel that and you see that when you speak to a lot of them. But I feel like it's just, I'll just throw it all out there, and just like taking a bucket of ideas and throwing it at the wall, and you see what sticks. Instead of having a strategy and a planned approach. Whereas if you actually apply yourself to thinking of it as a PR plan, then you can start to think about the timing of it. And we have, obviously, maybe not 2020, but we normally have quite an obvious like peaks and troughs within how busy we are, or when people are looking at booking us, when we're more likely to be booked. And that's pretty much the same every year. So we can plan quite far in advance. What you don't want to be trying to do is scrabble around in the summer trying to market yourself for that autumn because you're too busy shooting. Yeah. So I always think of it when I'm doing training with people. One of the things I get them to do to try and visualize how they can do this for themselves is to imagine that they won a contest, and somebody like Saatchi and Saatchi was going to do all of their marketing for them. So you don't have to do anything. They're actually, the world's leading advertising agency, and they are going to promote you. All you have to do is explain to them what it is exactly that you do, and they will create a campaign for you. And you try and get people to define it, and they often struggle to just be able to define what it is that they do, who they're trying to do it for, and where they're trying to get to. So just making them define it can then help give you a baseline to make your PR plan. And there are just like 3 different elements to PR. So it is paid advertising, which of course actually anyone can do. Any one of us can take out a paid advert across a blog, in a magazine. They never vet you. They don't ask you if you have X amount of experience. So that's like a complete leveler. And I still, after all this time, every single year that I've been in business, I've paid for advertising. So paid advertising, the first of the 3 elements of PR. And then you've got press. So press for photographers might be getting blog features or getting featured on a podcast with a peripheral company like you. This is all good PR. This is why I'm here. It might be getting featured in a photography magazine. It might be getting your images published in a bridal magazine, thinking about all the different places you can appear that you get press. And if you had a PR agent or advertising company doing this for you, that's what they would do for you. And then the final part of PR, 3 different things, is word of mouth. Okay, so we're trying to get people to talk about us in a good way. Trying to get other people to talk about us, and that recommends us to people. So if you can get those 3 elements all working for you, and you strategically think about how the whole year is going to pan out, so when you can place different parts of those, then you should be able to attract the right amount of customers for you and the right amount of inquiries that you can work on converting.
Fantastic. What a bit of knowledge. That was fantastic. I loved it. I think the word of mouth side of things is definitely a big one for photographers, isn't it? We get a lot of referrals, and, you meet potential couples at weddings, and it's all very much your shop window. But then on top of that, you've got your website, which is probably one of the biggest shop windows you could ask for, really. And I know myself, I struggle with the website copy side of things. I sit down and I know all these things I want to say, but I don't necessarily know how to write them. I know that you're incredible at this, and you have a real passion for website copy. Your website just reads as if I'm speaking to you, which is that's what everyone aims for. So do you perhaps have some advice for our listeners that are looking for that authentic, true to themselves, engaging copy for their website too?
Oh, you know what, Sally? It's actually incredibly simple. And so I've had websites right from the beginning, from the year 2000. I've had websites as a wedding photographer. And up until this last incarnation of my website, which was created for me in 2017 by Melissa Love, when we got to because no matter who or what process you go through to get your website, you still have to write the copy yourself. You have to have that input. Even if you employ a copywriter, you have to give them input on what your voice is and what you want to say. And when it came down to do it, I just suddenly dawned on me that I was writing all my websites from my own wants and needs. I was putting across what it is that I wanted or what I needed to tell them. And there just wasn't a point where I was actually writing the website for them, because I'm not selling to me. I'm selling to potential couples. So how about if I completely 180 flipped it and I wrote the entire thing for them and from their perspective, and entirely focused on what their wants and needs are. So recently, this last year, I've been using some of my time in lockdown to study advanced marketing techniques, and I didn't realize that this is a technique that you focus on their their needs and wants and help them to identify them, and then you become their problem solver.
Uh-huh.
So I just did this kind of instinctively, and it's been really successful. So just where you find yourself very blocked with writing copy, I think it's just that we psych ourselves out. We look at so many other wedding photographers' sites and we sort of know what we should say. So you end up basing your copy on that, and it becomes really generic. Whereas if you start with your ideal client, the ideal couple that you're trying to attract, you picture them, and then you actually imagine that you're in a conversation with them. That's the whole point of them being there. So you talk about shop window, the website, that's like your little boutique. We'll just imagine they walk in and you're there and you just want to chat to them and find out what it is that they're there, that they want or they need from you. And then you respond to that and show them how you're the person that can provide it or solve their problem. And once you realize that, writing copy actually becomes a lot easier. And it's not difficult to make it conversational. You just act as if you're in a conversation.
Yeah, I think that's probably the stumbling block that a lot of people don't realize is even in front of them, is they try to talk through the formalities and try and sound really formal when they are speaking on their website, because it's a website. But it's really refreshing to see a lot of photographers now are talking as if you are stood there having a conversation with them. And I think thinking about it, that's probably one of the biggest selling points for a photographer, isn't it? If someone can go on your website and feel who you are, that's going to make the potential couple want to know more and speak to you in person.
Yeah, well, who do you choose to work with? You choose to work with people you feel already connected to, or friends. If you have a friend who's a hairdresser, you're more likely to go and book them to get your hair done than a stranger.
Yeah.
Or if you've been working with a hairdresser for a while and it feels like they're a confidant, you will keep returning to them. So I feel that's a lot of the purpose of it, is you're trying to build a relationship and a connection really quickly. Trying to create this feeling that above anybody else that they might be looking at, you're already in a relationship with them. You're already pally. By the time I take them through the process of filling out the contact form and responding to that, we've got in-jokes. Like, I want them to feel that with me. And when they come and they sit down, because your website and all of the touch points that you have with them, your email responses, like every point that you are getting in touch with them before they physically meet you, it's meant to be doing work for you to get them to the point where they feel like they want to book you above everybody else. You can't, none of us are sitting here in isolation, and when people get engaged, they're just going to go straight to you and they just know they're going to book you. That's sadly not how it is. It would be lovely if it was. But in this day and age, what you're dealing with is, in a big pool, they're going to narrow down their choices, and then they're going to go deep dive with a certain amount of people. Say it's a dozen, say it's 6. So you're competing with those other people. What's the thing that's going to stand you out and make you different? Really, there are so many great photographers. And you're not just competing with your guys who are in the same town as you. You're competing these days with people who will fly over and shoot it for you. And so couples have got all the power. It is a buyer's market. So making the difference can just be that building that relationship. So it's like, we've all got great pictures. We just need to be above and beyond the person that they see, that they feel like they trust, that they already kind of know, and they're already got in jokes with.
And you touched on it briefly there about your having a good contact form. So I think it's really easy to make a run-of-the-mill contact form, if you like. It's just a form that they fill out with their name, their wedding date, their email address, and what color their flowers are going to be. I know that you take it much, much deeper than that. So can you perhaps tell us a little bit about that, and maybe your best kept secrets for your contact forms?
Well, yes, that great point, because I'm at the minute I'm doing this short mentoring program with some photographers, and one of the things that I did was I filled out all their inquiry forms. I pretended I was getting married, and I filled them out to see what it felt like and what I got as a potential couple. So a lot of them had a really great voice throughout their website, and they'd worked really hard on their copy, and their images looked great. And we got to this part of their business, and it started to go into really formal speak and started to really fall flat. And I was thinking, if you were those couples, okay, you might fill out a dozen for photographers, then you might fill out another 10 for florists and another 5 for cake makers. And it's you could easily fill out 50 to 80 contact forms for suppliers for your wedding. So that's not fun, especially if they're really generic and samey. And so I've always done this. I've always played around with my contact form just to try and make it fun to fill out, and then to give me something to feel like we're already colluding on. So I just it's just simple things, Sally. You don't have to say, what's your venue? Mine says, where is this shindig? It's the simplest things. It says your name, your boo's name. It doesn't have to be it's just and if they're the kind of person that don't know what the word boo means, they're probably not my ideal couple. It might potentially repel some people. They're just I don't know what this girl's talking about. But the funnest question is then when you get to tell them to talk about themselves, and they don't have to, but it's lovely if they do. And sometimes people really want to talk about themselves and their wedding and give you a good overview of what they're planning. And then you've got lots to respond to. So I ask them, how did they meet? Tell me about this wedding that you're planning. And then I say, tell me what your favorite cheese is, or tell me what your Uber score is. Now, again, if you're in the Highlands, you probably don't have an Uber score, but most of my clients are down in London and around Brighton. And once you have an Uber score, I'm kind of obsessed with improving mine. And so I talk about that on my about page, and then I talk about cheese. I say I'm on a quest. I just still don't know what my favorite cheese is, but I'm happily questing to find out exactly what it is. Now even vegans have a favorite cheese, so everybody can fill that out, and some do and some don't. I want them to look at each other's Uber scores and suddenly think, yeah, what is your Uber score better than my Uber score? I tell them what my Uber score is. And then, like I said, we sort of have this in-joke now about Uber scores. So I didn't know that Studio Ninja did this until recently. So after I started my mentoring program and I was looking at ways that people could improve their contact forms, and I was like, well, I've got to go in and make sure mine is doing all the work that it can do. So I went in and changed so that it sets to respond to them straight away to say, I've got your inquiry, I'm going to get back to you. One thing I thought was you can just actually send your brochure at that point. So it automates and takes care of itself. We're all busy. Wouldn't that be nice? And probably for the client, it would be lovely to get it straight away. But I want to respond to anything personal that they tell me. Don't want it to feel like a template. So I save that for an email that I'll send when I'm next to my desk. And I use your little immediate response one to say, yes, I'll be in touch. Don't worry, it'll be within the next 24 hours. And I'm meantime, here's my top 5 tips for improving your Uber score.
I love that.
So that everything feels like fun and you start to become the memorable person.
Yeah. A full-on experience there, isn't there? It's taking them on that bit of a journey rather than just, I've just submitted a contact form, we'll just wait to hear from her kind of thing.
Yeah. Yes, and it is reassuring. It is nice for them to know, because they don't know when the contact form's been filled out if you've got it and if you are going to respond. And then it just gives you a kind of 24-hour window to get back to them as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be the kind of person that sees an inquiry come through at 8 o'clock at night and I think, oh, I better jump on it straight away. I want to do it, business hours.
Yeah, definitely. Do you find that a lot of your clients kind of pick back up on that with you? Do they give you feedback, or do they make reference to it at any point during that booking process?
Oh, yes. So they always come back to you and they say either their Uber scores, or they're like, we didn't know that you get scored on Uber. Thanks for the tips. We will never slam a door ever again. A lot of times I will be in an Uber with my couples on their wedding day. That's how we London, you get around for your wedding now. So we'll go through the motions of being terribly polite and nice to our driver, making sure we put our seatbelts on.
I bet you do go through the checklist with them when you get in with them, remember the inquiry form, I told you how this goes down.
Well, it's their account, not mine. So. I know. I'd love to know what I've been marked down for at any point, though. Serious. Well, I'm yet to find anyone who has a perfect Uber score, unless they've literally just started their account.
Yeah, that will be your quest for whilst you're a wedding photographer, in search of the perfect Uber score client.
Yes, or one you can get banned, can't you? So one who's got a really bad Uber score and they actually get banned.
Really naughty.
The naughtiest clients, yes, I like that.
So as well as being an insane photographer, you also offer training and education to other photographers as well, which we very briefly kind of mentioned. Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of the in-depth side of that bit too?
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I started something called Photography Farm back in 2011. I was just getting so many questions from photographers all of the time. And it was taking me almost to lunchtime most days to respond individually. So the initial idea was maybe we should put this in a class and have people come along. Would anyone pay for that? and they did, and they have been ever since. So it's grown and grown. I love doing it. It probably takes up more of my time now than actually the wedding photography. But yeah, I'm just super passionate about the community side of it, and especially 2020 has been rocked so many photographers to their absolute cause, and so the community and the support that we provide has become such an important element, for me in my own business as well. It's the first place I would go to for advice and any problems that I have, and then there's always someone who can pass on information and knowledge. There's always someone who's been through whatever you're going through. And we're all going through 2020 together. The challenges that it's bringing, it's just an insane, and I don't know about other industries, but we seem to be left out in the cold quite a lot. Even just weddings opened up in the UK and then they closed back down on a Friday night. It was yes, you can have your ceremony, but no, you can no longer have a celebration afterwards. That everyone's in limbo land.
Yeah, it's a topsy-turvy time, isn't it? Nobody kind of knows whether they're coming or going.
Yeah, and then you're trying to plan ahead. So what's going to happen in 2021 and 2022? Is it all going to be okay? Or are we still going to be looking at more postponements? Who knows? It's absolutely mind-boggling that we are in this scenario.
Yeah.
But throughout lockdown, we've been focusing on providing live online education, which has been really good fun and interactive and just keeping morale up. We've done some things. We've done some quizzes. We've done bingo. We broke it up into, because the Photography Farm group is now quite big, we've been around for a while. So we broke it up into regions, and you've been helping me with one of those regions.
I have indeed.
Yes, the feedback to that's been really good, because I think people like breaking it down into a smaller group and potentially being able to meet up. I know one of the regions, the Southeast, is meeting up to all do each other's headshots next week. Yeah, photographers always have dreadful headshots, don't they?
Or they don't have any at all, because we're so used to being the other side of the camera that it's that just doesn't happen.
Yes, or you have like one there with you holding your camera. I always think that's like being a plumber holding your wrench. I'm not a fan of a profile picture with a camera, but I've just said that, and my current one is me holding a camera.
There you go. No, I think I absolutely love Photography Farm. I know the whole team at Studio Ninja love you and love everything that you do. But I remember joining the Photography Farm Facebook group for the members there, and just feeling that real family feel. Everyone's got each other's back. Everyone genuinely cares, whether you're having a good day or a bad day, and they'll hear about it either way. I think it's a really insane community to be a part of.
Yeah, I'm very protective of it, because the more that I'm in other Facebook groups, the more I see the edge that can be there. There can just be a competitiveness, a one-upmanship, and a lot of stuff that's born out of insecurity, which most of us are. We're Brits. We're brought up to be insecure. We're told never to show off, and so it can manifest in an online space because it's different. Everybody's different online than they would be face to face. So we try as much as possible.
You just don't feel that though in the Photography Farm group, do you? You feel like everyone's just there, like as part of your army, if you like.
Well, I hope so. There used to be that you had probably met each other, because we used to only have the group for people who'd done our 2-day residential workshops. So that either you'd already met, or you met at one of our annual events, or you'd been through a very similar experience. But we've broadened out and expanded so much that, and like I said, through lockdown we've been doing a lot of online training, so we've got new members that I've not physically met, and they've not met too many people in the group. So I was conscious for now that keeping that community feeling going was going to require some work, which is one of the reasons that we did the regional groups, and just to see what would happen with that. And then it's not reliant on me all of the time.
Definitely.
Because it's just too big. It's just too big now. But I didn't want to lose that feeling that it was still that really supportive place, and that you can go in with something that's relatively personal, and people are not going to share it outside of the group, and they're there to help you. And there's genuine interest in if you can. If you're going to reach a conclusion, and they genuinely want to know what happened about that situation. And let's face it, it's a crazy job, isn't it? It's the scenarios you find yourself in as a wedding photographer, even at any time, but at the most extraordinary times. Now that we're opening up again and you can shoot the weirdness that's going down. Like what people are doing in their, with the requests they're asking you to do in advance of their weddings, and it's never not fascinating.
No, it's always a good time. So this is going to be a really hard question, but I'm really intrigued as to your answer on this one. If you could tell us about just because I'm sure there are many, one of your favorite memories since starting the Photography Farm.
Oh yeah, God, you're right. There's just so many. It's just lovely to be at an event face to face, getting feedback from someone. I feel we get a lot of people who come on their own, and I think much as I can run these things, or I can get up on a stage and talk at somebody else's conference, I'm not naturally confident. And I don't even know if I would go to a conference on my own. All the ones I've been to have been with pals, and or I've been a speaker. And I don't, but we have most people will turn up on their own. So I'm always really conscious of that when they arrive, to work quite hard to make them feel welcome. And then when you get over that, they settle down and they can take part. But I think if you get that part well, so it's lovely for me when someone comes and tells me that they felt really welcomed, and they made friends at it, and they would love to come back to something else, so that we keep going with these communities and threads of people that know someone or were welcomed in, and then they've made friends through it. So that's probably my absolute favorite thing about it. But yeah, I have got some really incredible memories from our events, which were residential, especially the week-long ones that we used to do, with some amazing and we still use probably once a year, Ridge Farm, which was where a lot of bands recorded. It was a residential recording studio, so we fit right in because we get all the accommodation that the bands used to stay in. We get the staff that used to be the housekeeper and the chef, the private chef. There's swimming pool, hot tub, tennis courts, and definitely my favorite farm memories are there at farm, which is our spiritual home. Beautiful place in Surrey called Ridge Farm.
It sounds
And just,
amazing.
yeah, just amazing people that run it. There's so much history. Freddie Mercury began writing Bohemian Rhapsody there. Queen were in residency there for a long time. You can Google and see lots of incredible photographs of them in the spaces that we used for workshops. That's definitely where my favorite memories are.
I love it. What's the most common area or common topic that you get asked about to help photographers, either at farm or just kind of popping into your messages on Facebook?
Yeah, this is funny because I think that what people end up doing is they come to you for one thing that they think they need to work on, and then they end up getting something from you that they weren't expecting that's more helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, people really focus in on things like marketing and social media and posing. They get really like, I don't know how to pose. People help me, work out what poses are. Do you remember there's been a few things where it's like guides for posing,
mm-hmm.
Just tell them to do this thing, or tell them to say this to each other and you'll get this reaction. I think those are the kind of things that a lot of times people come to you for training because they feel that's what they're blocked on. But I feel when we get them to photography farm, like what we actually end up is getting them to a point where they are able to work from their own heart and what is comfortable for them, because we're all different. If you're not a really outgoing photographer, then getting couples to jump about or say weird things to each other or get big reactions from them, you're just never going to kind of feel comfortable with that. We're all different. And I think what we help people do is to figure out what kind of photographer they are and how they can take that forward in their business, and then put that everywhere. Every communication with clients, put that across their website. So just finding what the authentic photographer is within you and helping you just be confident that that's enough. You don't have to try to be all of the other things that you see, because we get exposed to so much more of other people's photography and other people's businesses. You'll see someone that you think is great on Instagram. Their stories are amazing. They're so entertaining. And then someone else who's really prolific on Pinterest and their pins look really gorgeous and they've got so many different followers. Then you have someone else who's like actually nailing it on TikTok. And you're sitting there thinking, I have to be on TikTok. I have to be on stories. I have to be on Pinterest. I have to be blogging. I have to be all these things in all these places. And you will burn out. You will totally burn out. So it's if you find the things that, for me, like I said at the beginning, I love marketing. I can, every day I think, right, what have I done today that's marketed me? And if I haven't done anything, then I'll make sure I don't switch my computer off until I've done something.
Yeah.
And those parts, you find those parts of your business that you find enjoyable, and then that's sustainable. The parts that you don't find enjoyable, you outsource. Outsource, because there is a company that can do almost anything for you now. There is people who will pin for you. There is people who will edit pictures for you. There is people who will write your blog posts for you. Outsource the stuff that you don't enjoy and spend your time doing the stuff that you do, and you will just be able to keep your business sustained and growing and developing and just enjoy it. You have to love it. You absolutely have to keep a love for it.
Definitely. Yeah. I think every successful wedding photographer really loves the industry and loves what they do. And if they didn't, they certainly wouldn't be doing it.
No, then it just becomes a job, and it is a hard job. It's hard work. It's quite thankless a lot of the time, no matter what it looks like. I always think, so I'm a great admirer of Jose Villa, incredible Mexican photographer, and he shoots, really at the highest end of the market. Big celebrities, big affluent weddings, working with incredible planners and huge budgets. And I saw a clip of him shooting one of the Jonas Brothers weddings. And, it was in India, and it was over 5 days. And you just see as the bride is walking down the aisle, famous actress, I can't remember her name now. And she's walking down the aisle with a huge big train. And there's Jose running backwards in front of her, just sweating. And like, as we all do, like, you develop this incredible skill for operating backwards.
Yeah.
And there he is doing the backwards thing, and I just think, nobody at that wedding is like, oh, wow, it's Jose Villa.
No. They're just like, what is that photographer doing?
Just the wedding photographer. It's just like, it is hard work, and I cannot imagine shooting over 5 days in India. It must have been insanely hard work, and then having the pressure of having to get sneak peeks, but to the media, straight away, all of that kind of thing. It just made me think, we're always just really working hard, and if you can keep that, I bet he absolutely loved it, I bet he had a riot, keep that absolute love for it, then you can keep a really good business going.
Definitely. If you had to start over again, is there anything that you'd do differently?
See, I knew you were going to ask me that, and I've been trying to think about this all day, Sally. I honestly don't think I would, because even the mistakes that you make, if you never made mistakes, you'd never grow. That's where your real growth is in any business. And I think the boredom sets in if you do everything right all of the time. So to do anything differently, I mean, there's definitely some editing that I cringe when I look back on.
We all do that, Lisa, all of us.
Everybody does that, and that's just progression. Of course it should feel like that, because if I was doing the exact same thing that I was doing 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I would feel really stale and static, and I wouldn't maintain an enthusiasm for it. So I think that's part of the process. So I can't think of anything in particular that I would do differently. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. That's testament that, the mistakes and the things that didn't go quite as planned have still made you into the photographer you are today. So if anything, that's, a really great way to look at it, that no, you wouldn't change things because it's all kind of molded your journey anyway.
Yeah. Even, right at the beginning of my career, I worked with a celebrity bride that tried to sue me, and it was just horrific. It was in my first year of weddings, and it's got to be the most stressful that it's ever been. Probably pre-corona. Really, really, really stressful. But even that, I do remember thinking, it's never going to be this bad again. If I can get over this, and survive this, I'll probably be bulletproof. And even that, I learned so much, because from that experience, I learned that it was never about me or the photography or the experience with me, because 6 months after she got married, she got divorced. And I realized that it was always somewhere to just put her stress, and her realization that she had probably married the wrong person. Instead of initially dealing with that, she was looking at somewhere to throw it. And I've worked incredibly hard ever since then to never be the person that anyone throws their stress at. And that's about relationship building and trust, and setting expectations as well, and always taking bookings that you are 100% on board with and comfortable with, which I wasn't with that one. Story for down the pub, Sally.
We all have them, don't they? And I think every photographer has that one story, that one client that they think, do you know what, they taught me some life lessons. So, at least those lessons got taught, and you move on and you grow from them, don't you? So, if you can add one last piece of advice for me, Lisa, maybe something that made a real difference to your business or just your life in general, what would that be?
Yeah, these go deep, eh? Gosh, one piece of advice. So, I mean, I think, as we're in such an extraordinary year, I would just say to people, try not to panic, even if you're right at the beginning, because the thing about weddings, people will always get married.
Mm-hmm.
They always will. Love always finds a way. It is going to look different for a while. There are going to be things, we're not traveling as much as we were. We're not in bigger groups. And I think there will be a knock-on effect for a while. But just don't panic. Because the other thing about weddings is they get booked so far in advance. So although you might feel really desolate for now, I think you're going to start to feel quite a sudden lift out of it again when couples start to settle down, plan their wedding. This Christmas, everyone's going to be used to whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
We're already so used to the new normal.
Yeah.
They're going to find a way. And they're going to want photographs more than they ever did. Photography means more to them. The stuff means less. And let's face it, weddings were getting ridiculous. The focus on stuff, on what's on tables and what themes are. And, it's like, that's not a marriage. That's just a wedding day.
Yeah.
So if you can really focus in on being seen to reflect relationships back to people, show what it felt like to be at that wedding, not just what it looked like, then I think those are the photographers that are going to survive all of this, come out the other side of it and be stronger than ever. Like
amazing.
If Britney can survive 2007, 2009,
yeah, we're all going to be fine.
we're all going to be fine. But at the same time, it's no bad thing. Like if you find that you need to do something else for now, everybody's in different circumstances and they say, oh, we're all in the same boat. And I've said this in the farm Facebook group a couple of times. I don't think we're in the same boat at all. I think we're in the same river, but we're all in different boats. Some guys are sitting on a yacht, sailing through. Some of us are clinging to a little floating branch by our fingernails. And if that's how you feel, maybe it's just that the photography goes in the back burner but doesn't go away. You can always come back. So yeah, I really feel for people that this was their first year in business. They just started. But yeah, just trust it'll all come back.
Fantastic. If our listeners would like to get in touch with you or learn more about the photography farm or mentoring, anything like that, how can they do that?
I'm everywhere. You can get in touch with me. Either my accounts are at Photography Farm, or the Photography Farm website is photographyfarm.co.uk, and my photography stuff is over at devlinphotos.co.uk, and again at Devlin Photos on that Instagram thing that the kids use. You won't find me on TikTok yet. My kids won't let me join. Are you on TikTok?
I am, but only for the kids. I have some rather embarrassing videos on there of me trying to throw the shapes and keep up with them. It didn't quite go to plan.
Yeah, my kids are like, please just let us have TikTok. Don't join. Okay.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Lisa. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the show, and you've given so much to our listeners that I'm sure they're going to be running away with their notepads and pens and jotting it all down to start making changes to their business. So I will hopefully catch up with you very, very soon. But in the meantime, stay safe, and I will see you soon.
Thank you, Sally.
All right. Thanks, Lisa. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, that's everything from me today. Thank you so much to Lisa for joining us. I really hope that you absorbed all of her knowledge and expertise. If you did enjoy the podcast today, please remember to review and rate us on the platform that you're listening on. A little love goes a very long way. For the show notes, you can head over to www.studioninja.co/episode 12. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of NinjaCast, brought to you by Studio Ninja. Beautifully designed and super easy to use, Studio Ninja will help you manage your leads, clients, shoots, invoices, contracts, workflows, and so much more. To learn more or start your 30-day free trial, go to www.studioninja.co.